quick. This one shouldn't take very long. But obviously, I wanted to start off our drive, our motivation portion with some championship mindset thoughts. I was really hating watching the Super Bowl yesterday. I hate watched it. But it went about as good as I could have hoped for it to go if you're a Chiefs hater. But I do really love the Super Bowl and the big events like that for all sports because I love focusing on the mindset. I love watching the teams. I love people stepping up in big moments. I think it's pretty much a universal thing all throughout the history of humanity. People have been fascinated by people in big moments like that. And so I've really studied championship mindset over the past 20, 25 years and had some key takeaways from some of the champions that I've really liked, and honestly some of the champions that I really hated or kind of rooted against, like Kobe. But they've had a lot of really applicable skill sets, mindsets that translate over and will make a huge difference in your life. So these are just a couple, modern champions. Of course, we got the best of all right here, Tom Brady. I feel like his presence over the Super Bowl yesterday kind of permeated across the Chiefs, and his aura kind of just deflated him overall. So these are some of as I was preparing my notes for this, I actually had a call with Kyle Van Noy. You guys know who Kyle Van Noy is? About a year and a half ago, did like a coaching motivation thing with him and some other guys, and he's a champion himself. Played for BYU, and now he won 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots. He's played with Tom Brady. He's played with Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Megatron, a lot of those guys. And some of these things were notes that I took from him. But pretty much whenever you talk to guys that play at a high level, one of the things that's really interesting is they'll take other things that these champions have done and they'll apply them into their own lives and make them better. So that's ultimately what we're trying to do, what we want to do when we study these different mindsets. And these thoughts are kind of all my own, but as I've studied champions across the years, one of the things the first thing I think that you have to be a champion is self-belief. And sometimes this is I call it an irrational self-belief. You don't really know, some of these people, you don't know where it comes from, right? A lot of these people grew up in average everyday circumstances. Some of them grew up in circumstances where, maybe they had a lot of hardship that they had to overcome. Being a champion or being great at something was their only way out. But there's not, there's different people from all different walks of lives. But one of the things that's fascinating to me is at some point they all have this self-belief that they can get there, that they can do it. And this doesn't just apply to like sports champions, but all people who are highly successful, they'll develop this self-belief. And then they reinforce it through hard work and sacrifice. So whenever these guys are in these moments, guys or girls, they're able to achieve these extraordinary things because of the hard work and sacrifice that they've put in there. They know what they've done to achieve that. They've built that self-belief brick by brick, step by step of the process, and so they're able to step up and execute in the highest levels. And that's really, how it is for us too. Whether we're doing sales in a career in an entrepreneurship environment, you have to have a self-belief, and you have to really build that and reinforce it in yourselves. The second thing that I've noticed is they all have a passion for the process. And, you'll never really find a champion that hates what they do day in, day out. You'll never really find a business owner or an entrepreneur that's had a lot of success that hates what they do day by day. They can't find some sort of passion in what they're doing day by day. I love what I do at work. I love what I do here as a career. My kids even think it's funny that I'm usually excited to go to work, that I enjoy what I do, because to them it's just stupid, boring insurance stuff, right? But everybody that is successful finds a passion for what they're doing. And I was watching some videos a kind of parlays to the next thing too, of Tom Brady was talking about how he used to watch so much film, right? These guys would study everything, the most boring, mundane aspects of what they're doing, and he would get better and better. And when I had this call with Kyle Van Noy, he said that Bill Belichick would coach them. He referenced this specific thing in the AFC Championship, if you guys remember, but Ben Roethlisberger, who was a great Steelers quarterback, won a Super Bowl too. Through film study, Bill Belichick had noticed that if it was a pass play, Ben Roethlisberger would lift his foot up off the ground slightly, like a tell, whenever it was going to be a pass, and so the whole defense would watch, and they would kind of know from this, like a poker cue, if it was going to be a pass or a run, and they wrecked him in this game because of the details, because of the passion for the process, those little things. And that's really, the next thing too that some of these champions talk about is practice like you play. And you can't go soft in practice, you can't, not take things seriously and then expect to perform well. And the same goes for us here at work. It goes for if you want to perform well as an agent, if you want to perform well in your career, if you want to perform well at a job, you've got to train and learn how you want to perform, right? I think often about a couple months ago, I flew to Tampa, and this rep's no longer here, of course, but I was doing a training. I flew all the way out there, got on a red eye, set up this multi-hour training, and one of the reps was just sleeping in the back of the, resting his head back and just went to sleep. And, I didn't really take too much offense at it, but I knew that guy wouldn't be here, within a couple of weeks. So when you talk about practicing like you play, train, learn, are you trying to get better at whatever it is you're doing? Are you taking it seriously? Are you trying to soak up every aspect of whatever it is you're trying to learn? That could be your job, that could be a sport, that could be a hobby. But if you're not trying to get better intentionally every step of the way, you're never going to excel at the level that you want. The next thing is resilience. So just like, one of the things that I think is really cool about sporting events, a fight, a Super Bowl, something like that, they're like a microcosm of life, right? You have things that are going well for you, and then inevitably you'll have things that don't go your way. A mistake, a turnover, something bad happens, in a fight they get punched in the face, maybe they're almost finished, and they have to have some sort of resilience. It's almost never that there's just a complete domination of anything where you experience no resilience, experience no hardship, nothing that you have to overcome. And so the best champions are also the best at being resilient. And I think that goes for all of us. All of us in life, we have to be able to build that skill set, build that muscle of resilience, because we can't ever do anything great if we don't have that ability to overcome. Here, with doing what we do, we have a bad day, some stuff's not going right in our life, we've got personal stuff going on, we've got, maybe family drama or something's going on personally with your finances or something like that, and, it can bleed over. Those things can take over your life and prevent you from being successful. Your ability to be resilient, your ability to put those things on the side and overcome those things step by step are going to help you in every aspect of your life, and specifically when you have some sort of sales job or any sort of performance-based position. This one I love too is, and a lot of the guys that were on that championship team yesterday, the Eagles afterwards, talked about not letting each other down. And that's a huge one for me. That's one of the things why I do love team sports. I've always loved team sports, is because this brotherhood or sisterhood or this accountability to others where you can't do it alone. And I think the best champions feel some sort of broader accountability to others that lifts them up, helps them perform better, and you don't want to be the one that's letting other people down. And I think that's a little bit of an underrated aspect of a champion mindset is, but not only being accountable to others, but being accountable to yourself, right? All of us, we all have goals, we all have things that we want to achieve in our life, we all have people that are depending on us, or maybe, you're the only person depending on you, but you have accountability for your own performance. You have accountability for your own actions, and you need to own that. And the best champions are the ones that are accountable to themselves and others. Competitiveness. This is probably the thing that I love most about, Tom Brady. I've talked about him before, but he was a very unassuming, lerpy, non-athletic dude. But his deep level of competitiveness was really what helped him develop all these other things, because he just wanted to win. There's lots of things stories I could tell about these champions and things like that of their competitiveness. But a lot of times I think modern society, we're kind of told that it's not good to be competitive. You shouldn't want to win. You should be complacent. Being competitive is bad. And I'll admit, I'm always competitive. I'm competitive from the top down. Even in this stupid insurance business, I want to beat our competitors. I want to beat the competitors locally. I want to beat the competitors nationally. I'm always asking for where we're at on the national ranks. And Dan's the same way. You may not realize that about Dan either, but he is sneaky competitive. And I think that competitive desire from both of us to want to continue to raise and elevate the business and increase our profile nationally is something that's really helped us win as a business. And I hope all of you have a little, as a salesperson, if you don't have a competitive bone in your body, I can guarantee you're probably not going to last very long in a sales environment. When we first started doing leaderboards a few years ago, there was a rep that literally threw a tantrum because she didn't want she didn't want sales boards to be posted. She didn't want any of this. She didn't want any accountability. She didn't want any transparency. She just, she basically left the entire company because she didn't want to have her performance, stacked up against anybody else. And I thought that was a really poor mindset to have. The mindset I've always had in the sales environment was, if there are people doing better than me, how can I get better? What are they doing that I'm not doing? And that's the purpose of doing it is, one, it shows what's possible, right? It shows visibility, transparency, and accountability to others. But it also stokes that little bit of what's possible, that little bit of competitive desire. And so being competitive, not to the point where you're like obsessed. My kids think it's funny that I'm still competitive with them. I tell my young buck teenage son he'll beat me someday, but it's not today. And I want him to get that competitiveness. He's always, trying to, I'm sure Rael's doing the same thing, wants to wrestle dad, wants to, anything he can to try to compete. But I want all of you to understand that a certain level of competitiveness is good, right? And all of you should have that desire at least to be competitive, even if it's with your own self, to do better, to be better than you were, last week, last month, last year. Another thing champions are great at is their ability to regulate their emotions. Not to keep going back to it, but there's those famous pictures of Tom Brady on the sideline where he just put his head down. Everybody kind of knows what I'm talking about. And one of the things that champions always talk about is never getting too high or too low, right? You never want your emotions to get so high and so excited that you can't perform, or that you lose focus. And same thing with, you never want to get too low. You never want to have that sadness, that low energy state, make it so you can't perform to your best. And I really think this is very applicable for us with salespeople. There are some of us as agents, especially when we're doing sales all throughout the day, where we get so emotional. We get, we have a bad call, we have somebody triggers us saying the wrong thing to us, or we take our emotions from our external life into our career, and then we're not able to perform at that level. So champions are able to regulate their emotions. They're able to keep it in context, and they're able to, if something bad happens, if you have a bad call, if you have a bad sales environment, if you have a bad interaction, you can let it go. and this is something that I struggled with early on in my career, especially when I did door-to-door. People hate when you get somebody yelling at you over the phone or cursing you out or something like that. It's so much worse in person if you've ever done door-to-door, or can be. And it got to the point where I remember one time this lady, it was a skill I had to develop to just let it go. And I just kept it in context, tried to do these other things. I knocked on this lady's door, trying to sell her cable. She came to the door, she looked at me for about 5 seconds, like staring at me like, you POS, and she just screamed like, ah, like yelling right in my face. And then she slammed the door so hard, her whole house shook. And I just started laughing and thought it was so funny that this lady's, some poor sales guy just ruined her life so much that she had a freak out. She heard me laughing and came, opened the door again and slammed it again. And from there, I remember that particular point, like I just never really cared that much, I was like, I'm not going to let people like that, I'm not going to let that lady ruin my state of emotion, because we all know that, in a sales environment, regulating your emotional state, being mentally positive, being able to have that transfer of energy and positivity is crucial to your performance as a sales rep. Honestly, it's crucial to your performance in any career, any position, but especially when you're doing sales, transactional. This last thing, this is something that I had. One of the things about champions are they're never satisfied, right? They're always going to look for that next thing, that next win. You win the sales, award, you're looking for the next thing. You win a championship, you're looking for the next championship, because you have this burning desire that's never satiated, because you want to keep challenging yourself, keep pushing yourself. And that's what I think is, the best of the best when you start talking about the greatest of all. That's a trait that is very rare, is this ability to never be satiated in a good way, not in an obsessive way where you're never happy, where you never are content, where you never find any sort of satisfaction, but you're never, I would say, never being satisfied to where you get complacent, right? I love, guys like Sean, who whenever we do a trip or something like that, one of those incentives there, I know for a fact he's never going to be, he's never going to be satisfied. He's not going to be like, I won those prior 3 trips, so I don't care about this one. It's going to be, I'm going to do whatever it takes, so I'm on that same, I get that same trip. That's the championship mindset. That's the championship mentality that I'm talking about. So I think there's a lot of correlations, guys. It's probably the one, sales trope that's been beat to death the most, of the correlation between championship mentality and salespeople, but I just thought it was an appropriate time to review some of those things. Hopefully you can take even small aspects of that and apply it into what we're doing, because it will make you infinitely better, infinitely more successful if we can keep developing this championship mindset as a process. So that's what I got for you there. Training updates. So last year I talked about, does anybody remember the theme of the year? Hopefully,
be a great agent.
Be a great agent, okay? I talked about it every sales meeting for almost a year. Be a great agent. I don't think I was specific about that. Be a great agent. I feel like we're still struggling with that a little bit as a company and as an industry. And one of the things that we're not doing great at as an industry and as a company here particularly, whether you're an independent agent or on our W-2 team or an LOA, however you're working with us, is effectuation. Effectuation is a big problem, guys. It's a big. Does anybody know what effectuation is, or accretion specifically?
How many of the sales that you actually go into?
Correct. So we all got a sale, right? Whether we met with somebody in person, whether we connected with them online, we got a sale, we got an enrollment. Well, effectuation is what percentage of those actually go into effect. And it's interesting that this is such an issue now in 2025. You know, when I always talk about like back in my day, back when we were pioneers, you know, you would write a policy and it was like, effectuation wasn't even really a thing. It was, of course it was going to go into effect, right? And I even remember my AEP, I've always had a very strong focus on effectuation because I never wanted to write a policy that I was not going to get paid for. Because why? That's just a waste of time. All you're doing if you're writing policies that aren't going into effect is wasting your time, wasting the client's time, but worse, you're probably increasing your potential for a CTM, you know, a complaint, having a poor experience. And that's the absolute antithesis of what we should be doing as agents. Yes, the industry has changed a little bit, and it's a little bit worse or harder during annual enrollment. But there are some things that we're doing or not doing collectively as agents to not be great agents that we should all be doing to increase our effectuation. And for us as a company right now, it's not just us, it's not just Agent Boost, it's not just you all, it's the industry at large. Effectuation is down pretty substantially. And yes, part of that is because, you know, it's a very competitive, very noisy, there's been a lot of chaos and things like that. But a lot of it is because we're doing a poor job as agents, making sure things are going to go into effect. Now me, I've only done sales ever throughout my career. I've sold real estate, I've done door-to-door sales, and I've done insurance. And in all of those, I never got dollars into my bank account until it actually happened. Just when you sell somebody, when you click that enrollment button, that doesn't necessarily mean that's done and that you're getting paid on that, okay? And when I was doing real estate, for example, just because I put a house under contract, that didn't mean that I was going to get paid on it. I still had to close that house. And a lot of times things would come up along the way. There was a lot of reassuring the buyer. There were a lot of issues that would come up that you would have to babysit that thing until it closed, and then it would become a sale, right? When I was doing door-to-door sales, just because I sold somebody at the door and I did the hard work, then I had to make sure it got installed. I didn't get paid on it until it was installed. Not on, oh, I scheduled the appointment. So there was a lot of babysitting. I had to make sure people would be home for their appointments. I had to call them, oh, you forgot your dentist appointment, oh, whatever. It's become a joke of waiting for the cable company to come do your install, right? That was my life. But I knew very well that I didn't get paid on selling somebody, I got paid on my installs. Same thing with insurance. I never got paid on it until that policy went into effect. Not only that, but until that policy remained into effect for 90 days. Past 90 days, a rapid disenroll. Now, if you're on our W2 channel, we've made that as easy as possible, where 2 years ago, people hated chargebacks, right? So we changed it on the W2 side of things. It was, as long as it was in effect when commissions paid out, there was no chargebacks. If the policy never effectuated or had already canceled by the time commissions had paid out, we still paid that commission. However, Agent Boost makes $0 on that. Not only that, a rapid disenroll is the indicator in the industry of poor quality business. They figure, CMS, rightly so, has figured if you write somebody on a policy and it doesn't remain into effect for 90 days, you screwed up. You did something wrong in some way, shape, or form. It was a poor fit, you didn't explain it properly, their doctors weren't in network, there was a problem with the medications. You should not have put that person on that policy if it's not going to remain for at least 90 days, right? So, look, I am a sales guy. That's my whole entire function in this company, in this organization. But a sale isn't a sale until it's gone into effect, right? And we are collectively doing ourselves a disservice by writing poor quality business that's not going into effect. And it's affecting, the carriers are trying to correct this out of the industry. And what happens is, if we as not just Agent Boost agents, but as an industry don't start doing a better job, then regulation comes into play. And the carriers are gonna step in to fix this. And that's how we have some of these stupid policies like rapid disenrolls and chargebacks and compensation that pays out PMPM, because the government steps in to try to solve an industry problem, okay? So, this, a couple things with mindset. When I talked last year, all freaking year long about are you being a great agent? Are you actually an insurance agent or are you an enroller? And I maybe if somebody wants to be brave and say, no, Mike, you're wrong. You guys are actually teaching me to be an enroller in training or whatever, and I'm just trying to get the shortest answer possible for someone to say yes so I can click enroll, and I never hope to hear from them ever again, then I'm willing to look at where in that process we're going wrong. But we want you to be great agents, not enrollers. And one of the difficulties that we've had over the industry over the past 5 years, 6 years, is a lot of these big box call centers and entities have trained their people to be enrollers, where they're just getting the quickest bit of information, they're giving out the least bit of information for a client to agree, and then I can click enroll and move on. Now, I get it, and I especially get in that environment where you're taking back-to-back inbound calls and speed to lead and speed to process business, you can just get to more and be more. But that's not how we're doing business, and a lot of you guys are working hard to prospect a sale, get somebody on the phone, or meet with somebody in person. Why are you then doing yourself a disservice and that client a disservice by not giving them all the pieces of information that they need to be a good quality enrollment? Why are you harming your future commissions, their experience, and the industry at large by just not being thorough? So a couple things that we need to be better at. Are we making sure their doctors are covered? Pretty simple. Does everybody have a copy of the anatomy of a compliant call? All of those things that we should be doing. And trust me, I get it. We've all been on some of those sales encounters where someone's like, yeah, this sounds great, whatever, just hurry and enroll me. I got to get off the phone. I'm playing Candy Crush or watching Fox News or whatever they're doing, right? That's great, but you need to, if you say, hey, I just need to take a minute and make sure you understand how this is functioning. I've got to do a good job. I want to, you want an agent that's following the rules, right? You want to have a good quality enrollment. If not, do they have a PCP? Are you helping people find a primary care doctor? Do they know, what are other specialists? If they're not in network, do they know the trade-off? Do they know that they may have to find a new doctor? Do they know, how it's going to work? What's their experience going to be like when they show up and try to access care? Are their meds covered? What should they expect? Oh, not just, oh, you're a dual, everything's free, whatever. Make sure that you that's probably going to be the case, but make sure you go through and check it and make sure they understand why that's that way, what they're qualifying for. Make sure you're checking some of their medications so they're not on a tier 3 or a tier 4 that's not covered on that particular plan's formulary, things like that, right? Or have prior authorizations. And even if they do, no big deal. Just explain it, right? People don't care if you took the time to explain it and they're expecting it and they make those decisions. What they care about is when they show up and they have a friction point where they weren't prepared for it, and then they're pissed off, and then they call up, and the customer service agent, the only way to help them is to coach them into filing a complaint on you all. So, what's their experience going to be like? If they have to change their pharmacy, do they know what that's going to be like? Oh yeah, you're going to have to set your medications up with a new program. How do you do that? What to expect there? Now, if it's a WellCare PDP to a WellCare DSNP, that's a little bit easier. But are you properly explaining what they should expect? So another thing too, guys, if your enrollments are routinely sub 20 minutes, whether that's in person or over the phone, you probably should look at what you're doing, because that's not a very thorough job. And I'll tell you right now, this is a big metric of something that we're looking at internally as far as like calls to listen to. Now, I get it. There's going to be some people that they've been on Advantage plans before. They're well informed. They know what's going on. They're laydowns. They're easy processes. That's occasionally going to happen, right? You're going to have a good, quick enrollment. You're going to be thorough. You're going to be doing a good job. But if you sell 50 and all 50 are sub 20 minutes, I guarantee you're shortcutting your enrollments. You're not explaining everything properly. You're not going through everything you should, and your clients are getting off that call or out of that presentation with you, and they don't fully understand what they're doing and how the plan should work for them. This is a good guiding principle, guys. When you're done with the client, do they know why they joined that plan? Could they articulate it to somebody else? I talked about this in a training a couple weeks ago. Think about this. You just sold Mima. She's a dual. She's had everything working for her on Medicaid and Medicare. Her family knows that whatever Mima has set up for her, she doesn't pay anything, right? So all of a sudden you come over to visit your mom, Mima, and she's like, "Look, sweetie, I changed my insurance." What does the family say? What the hell did you do?
Yep.
Mom, you ruined this, Oh, I don't know. This nice gentleman named Elon called me and told me why it was going to be better. Mom, I don't want to deal with this crap. Let's call him and cancel, right? Because Mima can't articulate to the daughter why she qualifies for this plan, what a managed care plan is, why she's going to get more benefits, why it's going to be beneficial to her, because we shortcut that enrollment, right? That happens day in, day out, all the time. So a couple of things that we can do. Send a summary or a reminder text, right? Like, thanks for enrollment. Remember, Martha, you're on this because it's a coordinated care plan. You're going to get better care. You maybe get a care manager. You're going to have extra dental. So when daughter comes over and it's like, "Mom, what the hell did you do?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm on this coordinated care plan. It's a dual plan. I'm supposed to be on it. I'm going to get this. This guy, Sean, helped me. Here's his phone number, blah, 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 blah." Oh, okay. How many of you have ever had to call and have a call with a family member and explain? You will, right? Like, it's just something where all of a sudden, son, daughter, parent calls, "What the hell did you do?" And you've got to say, "Hey," you almost have to resell that person too. That's pretty typical, right? But if you do a thorough job and do some of these extra tips and tricks, all we've got to do is just, increase our effectuation collectively by 10, 15%. You all are going to make 10, 15%, 20% more money, right? Emphasize the benefits for the clients, right? Restate, reaffirm all the reasons why it's beneficial for this client to be on this plan. Again, send them a summary statement, send them an email, send them a text. Make sure they know how to follow up with you or the retention team or anybody. This is a huge one, guys. Follow up until it's effectuated. So many of you guys are just processing an enrollment, not even tracking it, never checking on it again, and then upset when it's not on your commission statement. Babysit these through. Have a process. I used to do it every Sunday night. When I was watching TV, that was my routine. I'd watch a show or whatever, and I would go check on all my enrollments. And I didn't even have marks. I had to go through carrier portal. A lot of you guys have marks now, or access to marks, or somebody that has marks, and they can check on it for you. I guarantee your team leaders, your supervisors, they will check on those policies for you. Our commissions team. So if you're not doing it, you're just doing yourself a disservice. Did you have a comment, Ethan?
Yeah, at my house, I have every single carrier portal pulled up, and I check it daily to make sure that it went into effect, not like weekly, but daily, each policy.
Yeah, and some of you guys have access to the carrier portals, and some of the carriers are better, than others at updating that and letting you know when the policy is. But a policy isn't a policy until it's effectuated, okay? Do your 3, 30, 60, and 90-day campaigns as follow-ups. Is that running for everybody? Automatically? Everybody knows what automation is, right? Even seniors. If I get a text, it's like my dentist gives me a 1 month out, a 2 week out, a 48 hours out, and an hour appointment out, and I still cancel all the time on it, right? Everybody knows, but if you had a good conversation with the client and you're like, "Hey Martha, I hope your cat Ricky's doing well. Remember, your new plan takes effect tomorrow. Is everything good? Do you have any questions?" Do those kind of things, guys. Do those kind of things. They will help make you a better agent. They'll help make you more money. That's all I have. So this theme for right now is, as part of being a great agent, let's all work on our effectuation collectively. Nothing is worse than wasting your time on policies that don't go into effect. If you have a 15-minute call and you're feeling like, oh, I can wrap this up right now, but you're not being very thorough, take a couple extra minutes and just, explain things. Make sure that you are confident that that client knows what they're doing and why, not just that they were, you steamrolled them or you just convinced them that they have to, enroll in this plan because it's going to be better. Right? Does that make sense for everybody? So this is a huge thing that we can all do collectively. I see the reports, guys. I see your paychecks. I see the potential of what they could be. I'm running these reports. I'm looking at trip incentives and things like that. Especially with like the one of the frustrating things for me was I assumed when I metriced out the trip that we would have an 80% effectuation rate. But when some of these reps are 45%, 50%, it's not good, right? It's not good, and you're going to not make it in the business because the industry's going to get you out, or you're not going to be making the money that you need to because we're shortcutting ourselves, right? It's kind of the antithesis of what we talked about with the championship mentality. Anybody have any questions or comments about effectuation?
I was just going to say one of the things that I would tell agents to do on your 30, 60, 90, I think like at day 14, right, especially if you've had an issue with effectuation, on day 14, that should be an actual phone call. Hey, Mrs. Smith, just following up with you. Did you get your card? Remember how to access your flex benefits, your OTC, and that'll go a long way in helping you kind of with your retention.
I know a lot of you might go, oh, well, we have a retention team and all that. That's great. But it's still your job to make sure you're writing good quality business and that your policies go into effect. Nobody's going to come after you and clean up your mess after the fact. And if they do, you're probably not going to get compensated, or that policy's probably not going to roll up to you if you do a poor job and someone else has to come clean up that mess for you. Okay? Yeah,
I
Nick.
just also wanted to add on top of retention, when you're doing your closing statements with your client, paint them a picture of what they're going to expect, what materials they're going to see, when it's going to arrive, so then that way they have something to look forward to as well.
Yeah, on that WellCare, if you're on the WellCare captive team, we are trying to do that three-way call to welcome call, and it's specifically to help you all with retention, right? So you can not to say you can spend less time or be less thorough, but you're gonna have somebody else reinforce those things and what to expect, do the HRA, that should save you some time on that as well, but that's the whole purpose for that, is to increase our effectuation rate. Couple other things, guys. Agent referral, $500 bonus. Whenever that agent becomes active, I believe that's when they produce 10 policies of any sort, that referral bonus will pay out for you. We have an elite agent training. We've moved this to Tampa on March 11th and 12th. I'm going back here, so if you know anybody in the industry that wants to go to this training, you all, agent success managers, team leads, this will be a big one to get people to. 80% success. If an agent goes to this 2-day training, 80% or more of them are writing good quality business and staying in the industry. The normal attrition is about 10%. So high correlation for this training. And this is, mostly guys, this is stuff that we go over for a lot of you all the time. So, practice how we play. Let's do a good job of ingesting these trainings and these suggestions into our daily practices.
Mike,
Yeah.
is cost of travel somewhat reimbursed once they hit 10 or more sales?
Yeah, so if they've already produced 10 or more policies, we actually pay for the agent 100%. We pay for their flight, we pay for their hotel, or if they're unaffiliated, or if they're a new agent that hasn't done anything and they come out on their own dime, once they process that 10 or 15, I can't remember, it's 10 or 15 policies, 15, we'll pay them $1,000. We'll just ETF them $1,000 to reimburse them for flights and hotels. So it's a great investment there. But we are, as a company, we're spending a lot of cash to develop agents. That last group that we had here 2 weeks ago, I think we spent $50,000 just on travel and accommodations to invest in agents, hoping that they become highly effective. I'll send out trip incentive stuff today with the points if you're close, the bonus points for the week where we had double points for well care, and the extra point for the 8th through the 31st of December to let everybody know. This has been a little bit hard to accurately gauge. We have great reporting, but it's been a little bit of 1 step forward, 2 steps back a little bit, because I'll see points come in, I see people trending, and then some people have really, really poor effectuation of stuff not going in, and then the report updates, and I'm going, it's like sand through the hands. Help, don't do that, guys. Let's make sure your policies are actually becoming policies. Shout outs. Top agents last month, Mark Warwick, Nick Cole. That's a crazy number for January for a single month. That's really insane. Nick 63, Bree 60 or 66, 63, 55, 55. These are crazy, crazy high numbers, guys. Great job to a lot of you, and I only show this for some of you to show you what is possible. Now, I wish all these were effectuated policies. I can tell you they're not, but do a good job on that. Still, it's a great job. On a lot of these agents, I'll tell you this, guys, there's a high correlation between the top agents and the top performers and better effectuation and better accretion. It functions in reverse. A lot of you think, oh, I gotta be fast, I gotta be quick, so I can hurry, get off this call and get on another one. It's not like that, guys. I promise you, if you do a good job, if you're thorough, if you're a great agent, you're going to actually process more business. You're gonna get more referrals. It's gonna work in reverse when you're more thorough and you do a good job versus shortcutting these enrollments. But these are insane numbers for a month. So first week of February, great job, guys. Ethan, Adriana, Jose, Nicole, A, B, John, great. Trending for those same kind of numbers. It's crazy to me that we can write more business during open enrollment even than annual enrollment, and so there's a lot of opportunity for the next 2 months, and I expect it just to continue. We have some unique structure here at Agent Boost with leads and opportunities that are basically going to benefit us year round. So there's a lot of opportunity out there to keep writing business, guys. We're going to be rolling out some incentives. It's my responsibility. I've done a bad job of staying on top of some of the other incentives besides the trip, like the King and Queen's Court dinner, shouting out the top reps of the month. These are going to be the things that we're focusing on. We did renew the concert series for Utah. We're going to have like-kind incentives in Tampa for you W-2 agents as well, but not just the W-2 agents, all of our agents. The concert series, so if you haven't ever been, we have a suite out at USANA or Utah First Credit Union. There's about 40 shows, and we're gonna kind of reiterate what we're doing for the sales incentives, but we're gonna focus on who has the best effectuation, right? Percentage-wise. Enrollments are great, sales are great, but who's writing quality business? We're gonna reward those top 3 every month. Top 3 most WellCare sales, most overall, and then top rookie. So when your first full month selling. So those are going to be some of the criteria that we're looking for. Does anybody else does anyone want to give any suggestions to some of the behavior or reward or incentives that we should be doing? I'm looking for extra criteria. I don't want participation awards necessarily, but anybody else have anything that they'd like to? I've thought about best attitude or like employee, but that's kind of like a hard thing to quantify.
Best dressed.
Best dressed. Compliance is great. Yeah, that's a good one too. I think low CTM rates. That's definitely one. Compliance, guys, we're all going to get CTMs. You just do this long enough. But there's definitely people who are outliers in a good way and a bad way on compliance. That's a great suggestion, Chelsea. Anything else?
Most improved.
Yeah, we did most improved for a year and a half. I didn't, it kind of created like awkward results. It was like somebody that did really bad and then did slightly less bad the next month was the winner, or it would be a really great rep that just like slacked off for a month, and then I'm rewarding that, you know.
Sandbag.
Yeah. So that one was hard to metric and measure. But either way, guys, that's what we're gonna be doing. A lot of opportunity for us here this year. I feel like the industry's never been better for opportunity. I feel like we got a big, bright future for years to come in this industry, and appreciate all of you. So have a great week. Thanks, Dave.